It's March 14th, 2022. So, Lynn and Lou ordered takeout tonight, and I'm sitting there with both of them. And Lou this morning comes over and says to me, "Listen, Nikki, I'm going to be working on something." And I'm like, "Yeah." And he says, "I'm going to be working on a kindness book with pound puppies." I'm like, "Right, Kennel Club, pound puppies. Right, yeah, I'm listening." And so he says, "I need you to research and find a dog that you really, really like." I'm like, "I already got it." And he's like, "Well, you want to hear the rest of this?" And again, I listen to this man pitch me my whole entire life, and normally my eyes roll back in the back of my head because nothing ever makes sense when he speaks. However, this new simple concept has been a lot easier. Like, Brother Claus, it's a book, it's a video call, like, whatever. It's understandable. Um, so he says, "So what dog?" And I'm like, "Pitbull." I like the lockjaw of a pit bull. They're just so beautiful in the breed and the way their facial structure is built. I mean, gorgeous. And he's like, "No." He's like, "No." He's like, "I need something that like I could have manufactured to go with the book so that when the kids hug the animal, it's something like, kindness, caring, and whatever, like some slogan." And I'm like, "Why not a pit bull?" And when you squeeze it, it's like, take a bite out of crime. Although I think that was like a 1980s thing, but something along those lines. Like, take a bite out of crime. Like, New York City pit bulls. I mean, like, why not? And he's just like, "Ugh." He's like, "Just look for some puppies." And I'm like, "Right, yeah, okay, got that." So I didn't. Um, so then tonight at dinner, he's like, he had a conversation with the Lord, and or well, not. He's got the Lord that looks like the guy from Mayor Adams' office. So it looks like one of his hires. And so he said something about they shouldn't. I don't know. They were talking about something like they shouldn't order from China. They should be ordering from South America because something with the supply chain. And I'm like, "Lou," I was like, "You're in the Americas. Why wouldn't you purchase from America? Like, it just doesn't make sense why you'd involve China in an America's vendor project, like in a keeping it all in the hemisphere." And so he said, "That's because something about China's got better labor." And I'm like, Since when?" I was like, "It's the same hands. It's the same process possibility. Just give South America the same offer that you would have offered." I mean, like, it's not rocket science, clearly. I mean, so I'm like, he's like, "No, the factory's over there." And I'm like, now here's a question. Like, I mean, and then like I walked myself through it, and I'm like, all right, so if you're keeping neat and tidy for the rock walls, and there has to be a certain sense of decorum and a safe place to have a garden of flowers that works in the US system, and if our interior safe garden is the 48 states and some union, or whatever they call it, with that fancy flag they made me pledge to, with that Capitol down in Washington, D.C., then that means that Central and South America would be whatever in safe shipment technically, outside, if they stayed outside of the garden where the flowers are trying to grow safely, since everybody should have a safe garden. So that's what really confuses me, is why nobody is paying attention to like neat, tidy, and safety, technically, since there's a lot of movement inside into the safe place where the garden's supposed to grow. So that gets confusing to explain to my son how it got so congested in where my children were supposed to have safe whatever. I don't know why still. I'm like, alright, so then I'm like, so if they're not doing manufacturing on the interior of the corridor of the 48, if they insist on doing this outside thing, and people stay outside, and there's other things on the interior to do, and have a safe place to grow a garden, then that would make sense logistically. What doesn't make sense, though, is that they weren't able to, like, harness that simplicity. And then I said, do we have manufacturing plants on the interior? I mean, again, I'm like, Lou, you're my closest thing to intelligence here. And so he said to me, he's like, well, no, because here they, inside the whatever, it's like $20 an hour. There it's like $6 an hour. And I'm like, right, yeah, no, usually it's the price of the labor, got that. But again, here, things are a lot more expensive. But again, even that, like, there is an intelligence community. I know it exists. I just have no access to it. Because, like, my gatekeeper being Lou, he walked over to the door to disturb me while I was doing a video before with a paper bag on his head and 2 eye cutouts. Symbolically, I don't know what he's up to, but behavior management might know in top engineers somewhere else, and it doesn't always look like intelligence, but sometimes it is. I mean, who am I to question? I just report on the whatever and the whatever. I'm stuck in this weirdo situation. So that gets confusing. Because Lou never has answers, which I get. But I do question him. I'm like, walk me through the logistics on this, Lou. When he presents me with something that sounds like intertwined with whatever I'm stumbling through myself. But, like, is he able to carry it back forward? I'm not quite sure. I mean, like, technically he should be able to. But again, I've had my own time dysphoria and time dysplasia in time travel, with time warping and time airbending and baby formulas that have been combined and reconfigured that have become a real serious threat and problem to my own personal security, on top of other physical ailments and disfiguration I've experienced during this horrific revolution of man. Yeah, it really looks revolting from every angle. From, like, internal mirror to, like, porthole teleportation look to the street look. It just isn't pretty. There are not pretty people and there are not pretty things where I've been at this point. I have 4 beautiful little faces that I made, though. That was, like, the only beautiful, that's the only beauty I've ever seen in the world, of the 4 little faces I made. Other than that, it's just been one disappointment, because there's no intelligence within arm's reach. I mean, my kids are intelligent, but they're not part of the intelligence community. So, and they're relying on me like little baby birds. And if I can't find intelligence in the world, how the heck am I supposed to help them? It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.